The Galaxy Note 4 was one of the most pivotal devices in Samsung's recent mobile lineup. Despite the fact that it has not been on the market for years, it has been often considered the greatest Note that was ever made, and for good reason. Nowadays, people will generally cringe at the idea of using a Note 4, especially with how much the software and the hardware has gotten better with newer devices like the Galaxy Note 9 and the Galaxy S10 Plus. After two full contract cycles in the US, is the Note 4 still a device that you should consider getting in 2019? Let's find out in my full 2019 review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. Now, the Galaxy Note 4 is a very special device in the sense of it was actually one that I wanted for a long time but didn't get until very recently, or at the very least until my last Note 4 review, which was a little bit late last year. Now, I actually have a little bit of an updated arsenal of Note 4s. I have three of them right here, as you can tell. And the Note 4 was one of those devices that I always wanted, but I never quite got my hands on because it was very sought after. Keep in mind, let me give some context for the time that this happened. It was July of 2016. My beloved Galaxy Note 3 had just died, and I was on the hunt for a new phone. Samsung's Galaxy Note 7 was right around the corner and was anticipated to be the best flagship of that year. However, the Galaxy Note 4 was still the fan favorite at this point because it was still new enough and it still had the many power user features that the Note 5 that succeeded it lacked. It had the removable battery. It had the expandable storage, the latter of which came back on the Note 7, but on the Note 4, it was much simpler. And the truth is that even to this day, those are still great reasons to get the Galaxy Note 4. And the reason I'm starting off with that is because that's what sets this device apart. Because let's take these other ones out. If you have a lineup of Galaxy devices, in this case Notes, because we're going in order. So you have the Note 4, then the Note 5, then the Note 7, and you're looking at the history of Galaxy devices. What is the one that stands out the most among people? Well, probably this one, but let's get that out of the way because as far as for positive features, which one is the one that's the most well known? Many people are going to say the Note 4, and that's because of its power user features, the things that a lot of people believe that Samsung made the wrong move whenever they stepped up to the Note 5. Yes, the glass back is very, very nice. It's very comfortable, it has great build quality, and the durability is not too bad either. But the Note 4 had that unique design. It had its own identity that set it apart. And that's what a lot of people who love the Note 4, and especially people who are still using the Note 4, cite as the reasons for doing so. Because all the new Galaxy phones, I mean, it's the same formula, isn't it? Look at the S6, the Note 7, the S8, the S10, the S10 5G, the Note 9. It's all the same strategy. Metal band surrounding two pieces of glass. Same exact design, especially once we hit the Note 7, there was pretty much Moore's Law set in. Even with the newest Note 9, it's still the same philosophy. Even metal frame in the center, slightly curved on both sides, symmetrical design from the edges. Basically, that's the design philosophy of Samsung right now. But back in the day, meaning 2014, which was 5 years ago, so it is pretty much back in the day, every device had its own identity. And even this one, despite it being modeled after two different devices, the Galaxy S5 and the Galaxy Alpha, it still has its own identity. It basically combined the best features of the S5, the Alpha, and the Note 3 all into this device. You still had the leather back, which feels very, very premium. People will point out it's not real leather, it's fake leather, it's not as good, Whatever, okay? The people who love this love it for a reason, myself included. Look, there's a lot of tech reviewers, and I mentioned this in my Note 3 review. There's a lot of tech reviewers out there who will constantly harp about the fact that this is technically plastic. But make no mistake, it's the best plastic you're ever going to find on a phone. Because it feels unique, it's grippy, it doesn't feel cheap because it feels sturdy, and you're still gripping a metal frame. So, honestly, this is a very unique device. Any of these other devices you could very easily mistake for something else, or at the very least you can mistake them for each other. But the Note 4, if you pick up a Note 4, you feel like you're holding a Note 4. You don't feel like you're holding an S6. You don't feel like you're holding an S10. You feel like you're holding a Note 4. It has its own identity. And again, that's because of the metal design, the aluminum rail, which I believe is the same 7000 series aluminum that we saw on the later devices, but I could be wrong. I have yet to see very few tech specs about the actual specifications of this aluminum, but I'm going to guess it's 7000 series. Regardless, even if it is a lower grade aluminum, it feels sturdy. It is not a device that's going to feel cheap in your hands. Make no mistake, you are not going to pick this up and feel like a cheap phone. You are not going to pick this up and have it feel like a budget phone. If you don't like this leatherette back and it's something that bothers you, then you can always spend a couple pennies more and get the Note 5. Or the S6 Edge Plus, or the S7 Edge. But the Note 4, its design is truly remarkable. Now, I know I basically just fawned over this device's design for so long, but I feel that's an important thing to mention because people constantly complain about it, but it truly isn't bad. It really isn't. It's good. It's great. And especially if you get one of the more unique colors, like the gold. This is gorgeous. This bronze gold, it's a very dark, kind of muted gold. This, you dare try to tell me this does not look like a premium piece of equipment, because it does, and it feels like one too. But you also have other colors as well. If gold isn't your thing, you have black and white, of course. You have the white, which seems to be the most common, because I've gotten so many white Note 4s over the years. I've never had a black one. I do still see them occasionally, but the white seems to be the most common color of the Note 4 in my experience. But you can still get black. Black is still a good color that you can get if you like the all black. The black leather looks really nice. The black metal on the sides looks really nice. Or you can also go with pink if you like a little bit more of an out there, not out there, but you like a more kind of personal color, one that kind of shows off, maybe one that matches your outfit a little bit more, whatever the case may be. If you happen to rock a lot of pink stuff, then you could also get the pink Note 4. I don't believe there are any extended Note 4 colors. And the Note 4 was one of the few devices where I don't think it got any colors beyond its initial release. Because I know the Note 3 later on got the gold trim models and the red one. I know the Note 5 later on got the pink gold option. I know the Note 9 later on got the silver that we're all aware of. Note 8 got the pink one, that kind of thing. Note 4 was not one of those devices. It just has the 4 main colors. However, if you're not content with those colors, this is the oldest Galaxy device you can get that's supported by D-brand skins. So if you like D-brand, you actually can get D-brand for your Note 4 and essentially turn it into whatever color you want. And that is a good option. And of course, just like any other phone, you can of course slap a case on it and then alleviate any and all concerns about durability or even build quality. So if you really don't like the leather back, just get a case and you'll be fine. And it's just like any other Note. The only exception is that the side bezels are a little bit thicker than they are on the latter devices, even if these have the same type of display or the same size display. So if you enjoy the kind of design of the Note 4, then obviously I don't need to say anything. You know what to do. Now, referring to other aspects of the design, since we are on the design and the build quality, you have the speaker mounted on the back, which is horrible. This is a god-awful speaker, and it gets the job done, but that's very poor of a job that it does get done. You have your micro USB port. They removed the USB 3.0 from the Note 3, and they did not add any USB 3 functionality until you got to the Note 7, but it is still there. You have a fingerprint sensor, which works okay. It's not ideal. It's definitely not as good as other devices like the Note 5 and the Note 7, but it will get the job done. The 6 Plus is better in terms of the fingerprint sensor, but it does have one, so that's worth something. And it also has your capacitive buttons, 5.7-inch screen, heart rate monitor, 16-megapixel camera, S Pen, the whole enchilada. Everything that you would expect from a Note device. No Bixby button, so that's a really nice feature. On the front or on the top, excuse me, you also have your IR blaster, which is a great thing that this device has. They removed it on all later Galaxy phones, so if you want to control your TV with your phone, the Note 4 is a great option, and you have your headphone jack. Now, this all comes down to personal preference. Personally, I prefer having the headphone jack on the bottom. Like, I like having it on the bottom because then if I'm also plugging in my charging port, it's all from the same side of the device. So if I'm setting it in like a cup holder or something, I can just set it from the area that has no ports. Whereas this kind of prevents that, because if you want to charge at the same time, you have to have cords coming out of both sides of the device, which I do not personally like. So that is one thing that I'm happy that they made the change, is that it looks so much better with the headphone jack on the bottom. But that's just my personal opinion. You may prefer the headphone jack on top. Now, as far as the speaker, I already mentioned the speaker is crap, but let's go ahead and check out the speaker. Also, the fingerprint sensor does still have problems, and it still is a very, very poorly working fingerprint sensor, but it will still get the job done, like I always say. So let's open up YouTube, and let's open up a video. I'm not sure what video I should play, but how about some iJustine? That should be good. And yeah, so let's play one of her videos. Classic video. I just related to this because I just broke my iPhone 6 Plus. That will be in a probably in a video after this, since I ranted pretty decently. So, and now it's not loading, but either way, you get the idea. The speaker on the back is fairly poor quality. It's not the kind of thing that I would be very impressed with. If you can have a Bluetooth speaker, I would get one. So, you have the rear-mounted speaker. That's an ad. Come on.
So irresponsible, and before you guys criticize me, yeah, I'm gonna say all the terrible things about myself. I'm an idiot, I'm careless, I'm reckless, accidents happen. Oh my god, the same exact thing that happened the last time I shattered my phone happened again. I'm holding my dog in this hand, and the phone also in this hand. He pulls, and the phone just drops. Oh, Maddie, why? Why do you break mommy's phone?
And there's the video quality on the screen.
He doesn't know any better. He just wants to go for a walk. Thankfully, I have a Genius Bar appointment in an hour. As soon as I picked my phone up, I was like, oh god, again, and I was able to schedule it as quickly as possible.
So as you can see, the video quality is really good. Easily the best part about the Note 4. This was the first Note device with a 5.7-inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display. So if you were on a 2-year upgrade cycle and you were upgrading, the display actually didn't get any better from your next upgrade, assuming you upgraded every 2 years, because both these devices have Quad HD 5.7-inch Super AMOLED displays. So if you are one who maybe would like to see, okay, well, if I stayed behind a contract cycle, you know, what exactly am I missing? Well, why don't we check that out? So let's grab the same video, and we're going to see what the difference is in audio quality between the Galaxy Note 4 and the Galaxy Note 7, so we can see the difference between the bottom firing speaker and the rear firing speaker on the Galaxy Note 4. So if we pop up the same video, we can see the difference.
He doesn't know any better. He just wants to go for a walk. Thankfully, I have a Genius Bar appointment in an hour. As soon as I picked my phone up, I was like, oh god, again, and I was able to schedule it as quickly as possible. So what I have to do now, because the last time that I made this mistake, I backed up everything to iCloud, and it took almost 3 weeks to back up all my photos and everything. So I deleted the backup from iCloud. I'm now going to back up onto my computer. I need a USB-C!
So as you can see, you do lose the HDR if you skip an upgrade generation, but to be fair, you didn't have HDR with the Note 5 anyways, and most people weren't really going to be considering the Note Fan Edition anyways, so you wouldn't have really worried about HDR until you got the Note 8, and even then, most people don't care about HDR. But if you do, Be warned, that is something that you do not get with the Note 4. But everything else, as far as the screen quality, is nearly identical. No curved edges, the bezels are thicker, but besides that, the actual quality of the screen, if you're not a person who cares about bezels, you will be right at home with the Note 4. Like I mentioned, the speaker is the main Achilles heel to this device, because even on the Note 3, I still prefer the placement on the bottom. It just sounded way better, and it just felt like a better speaker placement, because you didn't have to worry about it being blocked when you set it down on a table or anything like that. When you're holding it in a certain position, it's just the worst possible place to put a speaker. I wish Samsung would put a speaker in the front, but that's something that if you want a front-facing speaker on a Galaxy Note device, you have to shell out the money for the newest one. You can find deals, that's true, but that's just something to keep in mind. If you want dual speakers, you're not going to get it here. So the speaker quality is okay. The screen is amazing. It's excellent. The fingerprint sensor is all right. It does have the headphone jack and the super useful IR blaster. Like I mentioned, those are super handy as well. So what is next to cover? Well, I'd say the next thing to cover is the camera. So you open up the 16 megapixel camera. This was the first device that has a 16 megapixel camera and one of the last. In fact, we'll use the last one as a subject for our shooting, since I just replaced the camera lens on this Note 5. So as we can see, we're going to go ahead and focus on this. The Note 4 has optical image stabilization, which is fantastic. It absolutely helps very well when taking photos and recording video. So we're just going to snap this picture real quick. This is just default settings. Click. And there we are. So there's our lovely little photo. So there's, oh, come on. So there's our lovely little photo. No editing allowed. Come on. Come on, open up the, come on. Live video. Some of these reviews I don't edit because I want to kind of show how well the device will actually work in real life, and this is no more real life than it gets. I don't know if what I just said makes sense, but you get the idea. So we're gonna open up a gallery. Come on, give me the pictures, there we go. So as we can see, there's the picture of the Note 5. In all of its fingerprinted glory. It's a very sharp photo. You can tell you can have a very, very clear look at Verizon's lovely little tramp stamp. A lot of great stuff. You can see the logos perfectly. Of course, it gets fuzzy whenever you zoom in, but 16 megapixels, you have a decent amount of resolution, and of course, it's a very, very good camera. Now, keep in mind, this is 2014. It's not going to hold a candle to the Note 9 or the S10 Plus. Get that out of your mind. That's obviously not the case. However, if you're not the biggest stickler about picture quality, this is, I would say, this is when the huge jumps in Galaxy Note camera quality really hit its peak, because at this point you had very subtle changes going from the 5 to the 7 to the 8. You had very, very subtle camera improvements and tweaks, whereas when you went from your Note 1 to your Note 2 to the Note 3 to the Note 4, the difference was night and day. It gave you a reason to really want to upgrade that year because the camera hardware was so much better. The Note 4 holds up very, very well. And it's one of those things where if you wanted to get it for the camera and you're on a super tight budget, I could totally see someone wanting to get that. So if you really like pictures, but you're on a super tight budget, again, remember, this is not going to be a Pixel 3a XL, even for that price, but it will get you a decent quality camera with plenty of pixels and all your basic features that you want from a camera. So if we go back, you don't have any double tap shortcuts like you do on later devices where you can double tap the home button and get into your camera super quickly, or on newer devices where you can double tap the power button. That's not an option. However, you launch the camera and you also do have the option to launch it from the lock screen. So you do have that option, and you do have plenty of standard modes. You have plenty of settings as far as all of your various pro modes and filters and all that kind of happy stuff. So the camera on the Note 4 is very, very solid, and it's definitely still holds up pretty decently in 2019, I would definitely say. It's still pretty good. So the next thing we're going to talk about with the Note 4 is the software. And just for fun, I have two different Note 4s right here. One of them is factory reset, and the other one has a bunch of stuff on it, which I didn't even think about until I just started filming right now. But either way, this one has a Snapdragon 805, and this one has the Exynos I just blanked on what Exynos version this is. Either way, I will put an annotation right there on what version of Exynos this is. But either way, we have the Snapdragon versus the Exynos model. Let's boot them up at the same time and go. So we're going to see which Note 4 will boot up quicker. And while we're doing that, keep in mind this one's AT&T. This one is fully unlocked. So we will see which one is faster to boot up real quick. And they're also on different softwares too. So this is actually completely random and honestly kind of stupid, but you know what? We're having fun. Let's do it anyways. And the AT&T one actually won. Holy crap. I did not expect that. I expected the Exynos version to kick the crap out of that version. For some reason, it was just extra slow this one time. Usually it's way faster than that. But okay, I guess this thing proved me wrong as far as, granted, like I mentioned, I have literally all my stuff on the phone because I was preparing for this review with this unit. So the boot up time, even with all your crap on there, is still really good. And we also have one other feature that I want to show, because the Galaxy Note 4 currently is on Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow. And if you guys didn't know, there is a version of a piece of software that Samsung makes called Good Lock. And Good Lock essentially gives you like plenty of customizations with your software and everything. You know, it's got like really fancy app launchers. A lot of stuff that we're seeing now in Android Pie actually originated back with Good Lock on Android Marshmallow. So we actually have a custom notification shade right here. It looks very similar to stock Android even. And we have shortcuts to settings. The settings menu looks identical, of course, but overall, Good Lock is a very, very nice way to throw some modern life into your Note 4 without having to put any custom ROMs on your device. So if you guys want to check out Good Lock, I'm going to link an APK mirror of it in the description if you want to get it, because the Note 4 is currently stuck on Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow, the same as the Galaxy Note 7 and a lot of the other devices, including the J3 Luna Pro and J7 Sky Pro that I just reviewed. Those are also stuck on Android Marshmallow. Samsung did give it plenty of love, though it did get 2 years full of updates. It would just be nice if Samsung had continued supporting their devices for a little bit longer. The Galaxy Note Fan Edition, which originally launched in 2017, just got Android Pie, and some people are debating, well, it's the same thing as the S7 Edge and the Note 7, so those should have gotten Pie as well, and that would have put their support schedule to 2016, which means 3 years of support. But I don't even have Pi on my Note FE, and a lot of people are kind of wondering, like, well, what's, they're understanding why they wouldn't do that. And personally, I hate the Android Pie update anyway, so I don't care if they get Pie. But it would have been nice if this had gotten Nougat and gotten maybe some of the new multitasking features. I mean, who knows? Maybe even the always on display. They didn't even give that to the Note 5, but I wish they did. That would have been so cool. However, if you are into rooting and installing custom ROMs on your phone, you can install a custom ROM that will essentially give the Note 4 all the software features of the Galaxy Note 8 or even the Note 9 minus the Bluetooth, and it will actually get you a very, very close to a modern Galaxy Note experience with all the features. Of course, that can potentially slow down the device just a little bit, but if you want to go on the opposite end of the spectrum, you can also drop a custom stock Android ROM. For example, Lineage OS is the most popular, and Lineage OS does support the Note 4, so you actually could root this thing and it would still fly amazingly fast even in 2019, whether you go with the Exynos version or the Snapdragon 805 version, because they're both very similar, even if they have different silicon. So you do have in America, you will have the Snapdragon versions, unlike the S6 and Note 5 series, where all we got was the Exynos 7420. So you will be working with Snapdragon, so rooting and custom ROMing is a lot easier. If you don't know or don't care about rooting and custom ROMing, then just trust me about the fact that the software on the Note 4 is still really good. Probably the best to demonstrate this with the stock one. But like I mentioned, you're on Android Marshmallow, and it still has pretty good software. That's not the right one. I grabbed the wrong one. But it's still excellent in terms of what it has. Now, with the Marshmallow update, you got a lot of great features and enhancements to the S Pen. This entire action memo carousel was basically added from the Note 5. So you have action memo, so you can take notes directly on the screen from pretty much every screen, and you also have link to action. So if you write down a phone number, a message, a map, or not a map, but like an address or something, you can get links to all of those directly from here. So if you write down someone's phone number while on a phone call, you can click the phone and immediately dial their number. It's incredibly handy, and it's something that I use all the time on my Note 8. And also, even though the Note 5 has screen off memo where you can take notes with the screen off, the Note 4 actually does have that. It's just not as pretty. But if you actually are on the lock screen and you pull the pen out and then you press the button on the S Pen and you double tap the screen, it will open up an action memo. So from your lock screen, without unlocking your phone, you can still take notes. The only difference is the UI just isn't as pretty as it is on the Note 5. You still have plenty of options for taking notes. If you want, so let's say, if you want, I'm going to write down that I want to call Mike. You can do that. Or let's say you are at work and you realize, oh no, I need to buy groceries later. So you can just open up your Note 4 and then just quickly write down that you need to buy some cheesecake, which is very important because cheesecake is amazing. So if you have any of those things that you just need to write down, that you need to remember, that you need to stay organized with, the Note 4 will help you with that. And that is one thing that's great about the Note series, is that people will constantly write off the S Pen, no pun intended, but it is a very, very useful tool that you should not take for granted having on your phone. So if you are on edge, if you are on edge and you are deciding between getting a Note or getting a Galaxy S series phone, maybe something like the S6 Edge Plus or S7 Edge, I would say strongly consider the S Pen and think about how much you could actually integrate it into your daily workflow, because it can be a very, very valuable tool. Trust me, I got the S Pen on my Note 3 and I have never looked back since. It's just incredibly useful. You don't have the clicky top like you do on later S Pens, but you also have the better durability over the Note 5 S Pen, because this pen doesn't have the advantage of being very cheap. It's a very strong device. You're not going to have to worry about the build quality of the actual pen. The only thing you'd be worried about is, of course, if you lose it. And if you do, these pen replacements are incredibly cheap. You can get these for $5-10 if you lose one, so no big deal. You don't need to sweat about it. And of course, just like any Galaxy Note, you have the perfect silo right in the bottom of the phone, so it's out of the way whenever you don't need it. So that's the S Pen. There's a lot of other great features as well that you have in your Air Command carousel. You have Smart Select. You have plenty of screenshotting tools that you can use. Rectangle is the most common one. This is great for screenshotting most or all of your screen. You can then annotate it, write on it, save it in your scrapbook or in your gallery. Lots of great stuff. You also have Screen Write. This is fairly self-explanatory. You can write directly on a screenshot. So if I want to point that I just downloaded Geekbench, I can do that, and I can save it and annotate on it from there. It's also great because if you take a picture or something, let's say you take a picture of your couch and you're moving, and you want to know the dimensions of the couch, when you take a picture, open up Screen Write, it'll take a screenshot, and then you'll be able to draw directly on that photo. Or you could also do it directly from the gallery if you want to draw on the photo itself and not on a screenshot of it. You have plenty of options. And of course, you have shortcuts to other apps. I put Instagram right there because this is great for screenshotting things on Instagram. It works very, very well for that. Instead of having to pull up your screenshot with some combination and then having to crop it out later, you don't have to do that. You can also use the S Pen as basically like a mouse and use your entire phone with the S Pen. You can scroll between pages, something they removed on newer Galaxy devices, and you just have a very fine control of everything. You can highlight stuff super easily. If I want to highlight Manager right here, that's super easy for me to do. And there we go. The entire word is highlighted. I can copy it. And then if I want to go to Google and I want to know what manager means, I can do that. Press it, go ahead and search for it, and then I know what a manager is. It's incredibly useful. I'm not trying to sell you guys on the S Pen. I'm just saying that this is why people like the Note, and this is why the Note 4 is still a great phone, because it has all these features that brand new phones in 2019 still don't have. So if you care about that, then that's definitely a point for the Galaxy Note 4. As far as basic software, it's also really great. Good performance all around. In addition to the S Pen and other various forms of multitasking, you also have multitasking. If you hold down the recently used apps button, you get a menu button. And if you go into your multitasking, you can actually open up an app in split screen view. So if you press the split screen button, you'll actually open up the app in your split screen view. And then you can just go home, press on another app that supports it, and then you'll immediately be pulled into your split screen view. Or maybe not. I thought I did that correctly. So go, okay, didn't mean to do that. So you got to go from here, open it, and then here is where you would open up another app. In my case, I want to open up YouTube. So now I can do two things at once. Two damn things at the same damn time. Perfect. And then, of course, if I want to use the S Pen or if I want to use just my fingers and scroll if I'm watching a video. So let's say if I open up a video of something hopefully not political. Here we go, Scott the Waz. A little bit of gaming action here. So we can scroll this down.
Hey y'all, Scott here.
And so then if we want to watch the video, we can resize it. Come on. Why is this not? I'm looking through the viewfinder of my camera, and I keep I just completely screwed it up. You get the point. You can resize the windows, and you can do all kinds of great stuff. I will admit, it is a lot more difficult to use than it is on newer devices. On newer devices, multitasking is so much easier. You can just hold the button, go into your multitasking, press, and then, okay, I'm doing it on this one too. It just opens your regular app list, and you can open up multiple apps at once. You don't have to worry about anything like that, and it's just excellent all around. So the Note 4 is a king of multitasking even in 2019. 3 gigabytes of RAM, no problem. 3 gigs, I say, would be the minimum for a comfortable phone to use in 2019 for any phone or any person who isn't like the craziest power user like me. So 3 gigabytes of RAM, you'll be able to get by just fine. Keep in mind, even the newest iPhones have 3 gigs of RAM, and it's all the same apps. So you do have plenty of RAM to get you by. Not an excessive amount, really 6 gigs is the sweet spot right now. 4 gigs is still really good, but 3 gigs is still solid. You'll still be able to get everything done without having to reload too many apps. Like I was able to just open up a gallery, didn't reload that. Of course, I didn't have that many apps open, but you get the idea. It'll still get the job done just fine. And remember, the price is falling on this device. So any possible complaints that you could have regarding the usability of it is very easily outweighed by how much money you're saving getting this as opposed to a newer Galaxy device or just a newer phone in general, or even a more expensive one in general. So again, you have plenty of multitasking options, and overall the software is very, very good. So I have very little complaints with the software. I do wish it had themes. This kind of stock look as far as, the settings is it does get kind of boring. You do have a couple different ways to edit your quick settings depending on what carrier your device belongs to, if any. And, you do have plenty of options. I would still recommend enabling developer options just to make the device run a little bit snappier, but you can totally do that if you want, or if not, you don't really need to, but it is there to make it be the littlest bit faster. So you do you. You can do that if you want, and it's absolutely perfectly fine. So let's also talk about another aspect of the software, or that ties into the software, which is the battery life. Now, of course, the Galaxy Note 4 is the last Samsung device to have a removable battery. So in this case, by default, the stock battery is 3220 milliamp hours. You can get extended batteries now. With the way the battery technology has been going, I've seen people cram, 35, 3600, 3800 milliamp hour batteries in this exact same space without even needing a new back cover. So you can expand the battery to be something bigger, and if you want it to be even bigger and you don't mind using the native rear housing, you can get modified rear housings that make the phone twice as thick but give you huge battery life, and the battery life with one of those is out of this world. Now, by default, I did get pretty much my standard 5 hours of screen on time out of my Note 4 whenever it has a good battery in it. Whenever it has one like these that have worn down after a few years, replacing the battery is your best option if battery life isn't so hot on your device. And this is the easiest one to do it because these newer Galaxy phones where the batteries are sealed in, they're a pain to remove the battery. I've done it before. I've replaced batteries on these. I don't really have an issue with it, but your average Joe consumer is one of those that you don't have to worry about it. Even your grandma can change the battery in her Note 4 with no issues. My grandma, she had a house phone that had a removable battery, and I just bought her a new battery because it was dying. You took it off the charger and it had died. So I bought her a new battery. She slapped it in. No worries. Good to go. So if you want the ability to exchange your battery super easily, the Note 4 is hands down a killer option. And of course, regardless of what year your Note 4 was manufactured, you won't have that issue because you can get replacement batteries for incredibly cheap and high quality batteries for really cheap. And of course, you have the advantage of it being removable in the sense that you can actually get standalone battery chargers that will charge your battery, so that way you can have two batteries on hand, one that's always charging and one that's always in your phone, so you can pull out your battery and go from 0 to 100 in less than 30 seconds. It is excellent, and it's something that many people who love this device are very clearly fawning for because it's an amazing feature that's incredibly useful to have. And it's one that is pretty much extinct nowadays. The last mainstream phone that has this removable battery was probably the LG V20. And that is a device that is now a couple to a few years old. So people who even have that device are looking at upgrading, and they may be missing that feature. But remember, the Note 4's got your back, and it will be here anytime you need to swap a battery. So that's something that's really nice. If you like swapping your batteries, you like going from 0 to 100 in just a couple seconds, you like carrying multiple batteries or having extended battery covers under modified rear housings, the Note 4 is right up your alley. And if you haven't thought about that, and maybe you want to try it, the Note 4 is excellent at that. It pretty much will change your lifestyle in the sense of you'll be able to use your phone a lot more and not have to be constantly worried about your battery life. So even if it's not the biggest battery in a Galaxy Note, it's swappable. And even if that's not your cup of tea, you still have the same fast charging that you see on later devices like the Note 5. So you can still charge it from 0 to 100 on the fast charger in just an hour and a half, if that. You can charge it super fast. You don't have wireless charging. However, you can get a little thing that goes underneath the battery door, and it will actually touch these contacts and will add wireless charging. It will not be the fast wireless charging that you get on the Note 5 and later, but it will be wireless charging nonetheless. And Samsung does make an official battery pack or battery back that has the wireless charging built in, but those are pretty hard to find. So if you want to just get a card that goes underneath and touches the battery, that works as well. And of course, just like any other phone, you can get the one that plugs into the charging port, and again, we'll also add the option for wireless charging if that's something that you must have. And I will admit, I do love me some wireless charging. So you can add that to your Note 4 and future-proof it in the aspect of having wireless charging. So the battery life and the battery usage on the Note 4 is absolutely fantastic, and you would not regret getting one if you are concerned about your battery. So battery life on this gets a huge thumbs up from me. Definitely a win. Finally, we're going to cover some miscellaneous features of the Note 4 that may make you want to get it over other phones, and we'll finally come to our conclusion. So we also have a heart rate sensor right there, which is excellent for measuring your heart rate, your blood oxygen levels, your stress levels. Basically, you can figure out everything that's wrong with you. And you also have the IR blaster up top, which I mentioned before. It is incredibly nice to have. It's just one of those things that the IR blaster is just an indispensable tool for those who like to use TVs, air conditioners, sound bars, anything that uses IR. And you can get any app that will pretty much allow you to control these devices, and it's incredibly handy. And if you really want an IR blaster, and you're considering getting the Note 4 or maybe something else, this is a huge win for the Note 4. I don't know why they won't add this back to newer devices. I mean, it takes up very little space. I mean, you could very easily have added it to the top. I mean, look at the Note 5. There's nothing up here, and the S6 had an IR blaster, but the Note 5 doesn't. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that's crap. But either way, the Note 4, IR blaster. If you like IR blasters, you'll love the Note 4. If you like the convenience of being able to have to control things without needing your remote, you will love the Note 4. Now, as far as other things, there's not really much else to cover. You have great call quality, of course. You have the earpiece up here that's covered in metal, so you do have plenty of decent quality in terms of voice calls, and you should be okay on that regard. Now, the Galaxy Note 4. To conclude, the question, should you buy the Note 4 in 2019? Or should you consider buying the Note 4 in 2019? And the answer is yes. The Note 4 is still a great device. Now, the software is getting old, albeit, I will admit that, but the rest of the package is too good to resist at this price point. I've seen these devices go from anywhere from like $80 to $140, depending on whether or not it's in good shape, all the way up to being brand new, sealed in the box. So you have plenty of budget to work with the Note 4. Or I should say the Note 4 will leave you plenty of budget to work with. Overall, it's still a solid device. It's still one of my favorite devices. Now, unfortunately, it's not the best in terms of the value that I would say you can get from a Note device in 2019. I would say the best value right now is the Note 8 because it's come down so far in price. For the price of two Note 4s, you could get a Note 8. Or at the very least, for the price of 2 to 3 Note 4s, you could get a Note 8. And the Note 8 just gives you so much for your money, as opposed to the newest Note 9. But the Note 4 is still excellent. Just like all the rest of these Notes, it's a member of the Galaxy Note family, which means that it's an amazingly great device, and it holds up very, very well, even in 2019. So to conclude, most of the package, especially for the price, is excellent. And if you're considering getting the Note 4 because of its Note class features and you want to get into the Note series, I would say do it. On the condition that you are interested in the device, on the condition that you are interested in a device that is unique, like the Note 4. If you want a device that's similar to every other device, but is sort of like a gateway drug into the Note series, I would say step up to the Note 5 because you have the very, very consumer approachable design and you have a very, very nice phone that is a complete package overall, but at the same time still has that gateway drug, the S Pen. And also, the Note 5 is when the S Pen truly came into being its own. But if you want to have more details on that, then check out my Galaxy Note 5 review that I posted just a couple months ago. But like I said, Note 4, still an excellent device. I still love all three of them that I have. This one is one that I actually repaired, so I have to give it back to the person who it belonged to. This is one that I'm selling, and then this gold one is the one that I'm keeping for the collection since this color is just so gorgeous. But the Note 4, still a great device, still one that you should consider getting in 2019. Even 5 years later, on its 5th birthday coming up, the Note 4 is having a great run. Now, it'll be interesting to see how much it'll be able to hold up for the next few years as it becomes more and more obsolete with the software and the hardware. But right now, as it stands, it's still holding up plenty well enough for me to recommend it, at the very least for someone who gets a good deal on it. Now, if you're going to pay full price for like a brand new one, upwards of $140, I even see these things go for $200. For $200, do not buy this. Do not buy a Note 4 for $200. Don't do it to yourself. You can spend a couple dollars more and get a Note 8 or even a Note 5 or anything like that, or if you're willing to go beyond the realm of notes, there's so many great deals out there. But if you can get a good price, for a good price, then I would say the Note 4 is worth it. Anyway, guys, this is Intellitech Studios signing out. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or stories regarding the Galaxy Note 4, drop them in the comments below. I will link the Galaxy Note 4 in the description, both the CDMA version for Sprint and Verizon and the GSM version for AT&T and T-Mobile and all the respective lesser-known carriers. So anyway, guys, this was Intellitech Studios. This was my full review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 in 2019. And I will see you guys in the next review. After this video, I will be dropping a poll about what device I should review next. I have plenty in my arsenal: the Note 1, the Note 7, the Note 8, the OnePlus 3, plenty of great devices. Anyway, guys, this is Intellitech Studios signing out for the last time in this video. I'll see you guys in the next one, and enjoy your Note 4s. Peace.